You think you need more time to figure things out, more clarity, more certainty, more confidence. But that's not the truth. The truth is this: you're thinking to avoid acting. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca: overthinking feels like progress. It's not. It's delay. Look at how your mind operates. A decision appears. Simple, direct, clear enough to act on. But instead of acting, you start thinking. You analyze. You consider outcomes. You imagine different scenarios. You tell yourself you're being careful. But what you're actually doing is creating distance from action. Because action is final. Thinking is safe. So you stay there, looping. You go over the same idea again, and again, and again. Each time adding more detail, more complexity, more doubt, until something that was simple feels complicated. That's the pattern. You take something clear, and you make it unclear. Not because it is, because you keep adding to it. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus: you're trying to control outcomes. You want certainty. You want to know exactly how things will go. But that's not possible. So your mind keeps searching, looking for answers that don't exist. That creates loops. And those loops create pressure. You feel it as stress, as hesitation, as mental fatigue. But it's not coming from the situation. It's coming from the loop. There's another layer. You don't trust your own decisions. So even when you reach a conclusion, you question it. Is this right? What if I'm wrong? What if there's a better option? So instead of acting, you go back into thinking. That resets the loop. You never move forward. You stay in analysis. That kills momentum. Because momentum requires movement, not thought. Right now, your mind is overloaded. Too many inputs. Too many possibilities. Too many variables. You're trying to process everything at once. That creates noise. And when there's too much noise, nothing is clear. So you think more, trying to find clarity inside the noise. But that only makes it worse. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. And your thoughts right now are not structured. They're scattered, jumping from one idea to another, without resolution. That creates tension, because your mind is trying to close loops. But you're not allowing it to. You keep opening new ones, before finishing the previous. That builds pressure. And that pressure feels like anxiety. So now you're not just overthinking. You're reacting to the feeling it creates, trying to reduce it by thinking more. That's the trap. You use thinking to solve a problem that thinking created, and it never ends unless you break it. Another pattern. You delay action until everything feels perfect. The right plan, the right timing, the right state. But perfection never arrives. So you stay in preparation. You plan. You adjust. You refine. Without moving. That creates stagnation. And stagnation creates frustration. Because you know you're not progressing. But you tell yourself you are. Because you're thinking it through. You're not. You're avoiding risk. Because action exposes you. It creates real outcomes. And real outcomes can fail. So you stay in thought. Where nothing is at risk. Where nothing is decided. Where nothing changes. While we wait for life, life passes. Seneca. That's what overthinking does. It delays your life. Not dramatically. Quietly. Through small decisions. Small delays. Small hesitations. That compound. Until you look back. And realize nothing moved. Not because you couldn't act. Because you didn't. And the reason you didn't was not lack of ability. It was overthinking. You don't just think too much. You think in circles. Same patterns. Same structure. Different situations. Same result. No movement. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. You feel like you're moving forward. You're not. You're rotating. You start with a simple decision. Something clear enough to act on. Then the loop begins. Loop 1. Possibility expansion. A decision appears. Instead of acting, you expand it. What are all the options? What else could I do? What if there's something better? You keep adding possibilities. Each new option creates another branch. Now instead of one clear path, you have 5, then 10, then more. Your mind tries to evaluate all of them. That creates overload, because you're not built to process unlimited options. So clarity disappears. And when clarity disappears, you hesitate. That's the first trap. Not lack of options. Too many. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. You're trying to find the perfect option. It doesn't exist. So the loop continues. Loop 2, outcome simulation. Now your mind moves forward. It starts predicting. What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if this creates problems? You simulate outcomes. Not one. Multiple. Best case. Worst case. Everything in between. Each scenario feels real, because your mind doesn't separate imagination from reality. So your system reacts. Stress increases. Tension builds. Now the decision feels heavier. Not because it is. Because you've loaded it with imagined consequences. That makes action harder. So you don't act. You go back to thinking. Loop 3, self-doubt injection. Even when you reach a conclusion, you question it. Is this the right move? Am I sure? What if I'm missing something? That doubt resets everything, because now you don't trust your own judgment. So you reevaluate. You go back through the options, the outcomes, the possibilities. The loop restarts. Nothing moves forward. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. Loop 4. Delay justification. Now you rationalize. Maybe I should wait. I need more information. I'll decide later. This feels responsible. It's not. It's delay. Because the information you're waiting for is not necessary to act, but it gives you an excuse. So you take it. You postpone. The loop pauses, but it doesn't end, because the decision is still open, and open loops stay active. So it returns. Stronger. Loop 5, distraction escape. The tension builds. So you escape. You shift attention. You scroll. You watch. You do something easier. That gives temporary relief, but it doesn't close the loop. So when the distraction ends, the thought comes back, with more pressure, because it's been unresolved longer. That creates a cycle. Think. Feel tension. Escape. Return. Again. And again. That's how overthinking sustains itself. While we wait for life, life passes. Seneca. Loop 6, perfection trap. You tell yourself, it needs to be right. So you refine, adjust, improve, without acting. You're trying to eliminate risk, but risk cannot be removed. So you stay in preparation, forever improving, never executing. That's not precision. That's avoidance. Loop 7, identity conflict. You see yourself one way, capable, focused, decisive. but your actions don't match. So there's tension. You know what you should do, but you're not doing it. That creates internal conflict. And instead of resolving it through action, you think about it, trying to understand it. That creates another loop. Now you're not just thinking about the decision, you're thinking about yourself. That deepens the cycle. Loop 8, repetition without resolution. This is the final layer. You revisit the same thoughts, same situation, same questions, different day, same loop. Nothing changes, because no action is taken. So there is no new information, no new outcome, no progress, just repetition. Right now, these loops are running automatically. You don't choose them. You fall into them, because they feel like thinking, but they're not productive. They're circular. They keep you in place, not because you're incapable, because you're stuck in a system. But now you see it clearly, and once you see the loops, you can break them. You don't fight every thought. You stop the structure that keeps them alive. When a loop starts, you don't follow it. You cut it directly. 1. You force a decision early. The loop begins when you delay choosing. So you choose fast, not perfect, not complete, enough to act. Because decision kills expansion. No more options. No more branches. One direction. Movement begins. And once movement begins, the loop loses control. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. You don't need certainty. You need direction. 2. You limit thinking to one pass. You don't revisit the same thought repeatedly. You think once. You reach a conclusion. Then you act. No second pass. No re-evaluation. Because the second pass is where the loop starts. You don't give it that chance. You move. Immediately. 3. You cut outcome simulation. The moment your mind starts projecting, you stop it. Not by arguing, by returning to what's real. What is in front of you? What can be done now? Because imagined outcomes are infinite. Reality is limited. So you anchor there. Every time. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus. You stop trying to control outcomes. You control actions. That removes the loop completely. 4. You replace thinking with action. Every loop has a trigger, a moment where you could act, but you choose to think instead. You reverse it. The moment the thought appears, you act. Small action. Immediate. Send the message. Start the task. Make the call. Anything that moves the situation forward. Because action breaks loops. Thought sustains them. 5. You set a strict decision limit. You don't think indefinitely. You give yourself a boundary. Short. Clear. Once that time is up, you decide. No extension. No just one more thought. Decision. Then action. This prevents loops from expanding. Because they don't have time to grow. While we wait for life, life passes. Seneca. 6. You accept imperfect outcomes. Overthinking is driven by fear of being wrong. So you remove the expectation of perfection. You accept that some decisions will be wrong. And you act anyway. Because action gives feedback. Thinking does not. And feedback creates clarity. Faster than analysis ever will. So you move. Without needing guarantees. 7. You close loops immediately after action. You don't leave things open. You act. And you complete the cycle. Follow through. Finish. Resolve. Because incomplete action creates new loops. So you close everything. Fully. That keeps your system clean. No build-up. No pressure. Just movement. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. 8. You train immediate correction. At first, you will slip. You'll catch yourself looping, thinking too much, delaying, projecting. The moment you notice, you correct. Immediately, not later, not after finishing the thought. You stop. You act. That repetition rewires your response. From thinking to doing. At this point, something shifts. You don't stay in your head. You move. Decisions become faster. Actions become immediate. The space between thought and action shrinks until it disappears. And once that happens, overthinking has nowhere to exist because it requires time. And you don't give it any. You decide. You act. You move. That's it. No loop. No delay. No build-up. Just execution. Overthinking is not your personality. It's a byproduct. A result of how your mind is structured and how your day is designed. Change the structure, and the pattern disappears. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Right now, your system allows overthinking. Too many open decisions. Too much unstructured time. Too much input. Too little action. We remove all of it. 1. You eliminate decision overflow. Most of your overthinking comes from volume. Too many choices. Too many small decisions. What to do. When to do it. How to do it. Your mind stays active because it has to. So you reduce decisions. You predefine your priorities, your schedule, your actions before the day starts. So during the day, you don't decide. You execute. That removes friction because decision-making is already done. No delay. No hesitation. Just movement. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. 2. You reduce input to essential only. Your mind is overloaded. Too much content. Too much noise. Too many opinions. That creates mental clutter. And clutter creates confusion. So you cut it. Aggressively. Less scrolling. Less consumption. Less unnecessary information. Because every input creates new thoughts. And new thoughts create new loops. You control what enters your mind. That alone reduces overthinking drastically. 3. You create immediate action triggers. You don't allow thoughts to sit. If something requires action, you act. Immediately. No waiting. No delay. Because delay creates space. And space allows loops to form. So you remove the space. Thought appears. Action follows. Instantly. That becomes your default response. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. 4. You operate with defined constraints. You don't give your mind unlimited freedom. Unlimited options create overthinking. So you set limits. Time limits. Option limits. Decision limits. You work within constraints. Because constraints create clarity. They force decisions. And forced decisions eliminate loops. You don't explore endlessly. You choose. And move. 5. You maintain a closed-loop system. Nothing stays open. No unfinished tasks. No delayed decisions. No unresolved actions. Everything gets handled. Fully. Because open loops demand attention. They pull your mind back. Again. And again. So you close them. Every time. That keeps your system clean. No build-up. No pressure. Just clarity. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. 6. You remove perfection as a standard. Perfection creates delay. because it cannot be reached. So you aim for execution, not perfection. You act. You adjust. You improve through feedback. That creates movement. And movement prevents overthinking. Because you're not stuck in analysis. You're in action. 7. You train your mind to return instantly. Your mind will try to drift. It will try to think ahead. It will try to reopen loops. The moment it does, you bring it back. Immediately. To what's real. To what's in front of you. To what needs to be done now. That correction becomes automatic. Over time, your mind stops drifting, because it knows it will be redirected. He who is brave is free. Seneca. 8. You build identity around action. This is final. You are not someone who overthinks. You are someone who acts. Fast. Decisive. Consistent. That identity changes your behavior. Because now, thinking without acting feels wrong. It doesn't align with who you are. So you move. Every time. At this point, overthinking has no space. No triggers. No conditions. No environment to grow in. Because everything that created it is gone.
No excess decisions.
No mental clutter.
No delay.
No open loops. Just structure. Clarity. Action. And when your system runs like that, your mind stays quiet. Not forced. Naturally. Because there is nothing left unresolved. At this point, your mind is no longer running unchecked. You're not stuck in loops. You're not delaying decisions. You're not trapped in analysis. You move. Fast. Clean. Direct. But this is where it becomes permanent. Because stopping overthinking is not enough. You remove the identity that created it. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Overthinking was never the problem. It was a pattern, a response, a system you were running. Now that system is gone. Before, you stayed in thought. You analyzed. You questioned. You delayed. Now, you don't. Because there is no space for it. Your decisions are fast. Your actions are immediate. Your attention is controlled. That changes everything. You don't give thoughts time to expand. You don't revisit decisions. You don't simulate outcomes endlessly. You act. And action closes the loop. Every time. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Now you see that clearly. So you don't engage with imagined scenarios. You deal with what's real. What's in front of you. What can be executed now. That keeps your mind grounded. Stable. Quiet. Not forced. Naturally. Because there is no excess activity. No mental noise.
No build-up.
Just clarity. You've also removed hesitation. You don't pause unnecessarily. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You don't delay action. Because you understand the cost. Delay creates loops. Loops create pressure. Pressure creates overthinking. You've eliminated the source. So the result is gone. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius. Obstacles don't trigger overthinking anymore. They trigger action. Immediate. Direct. You don't step back and analyze endlessly. You step forward and engage. That builds confidence. Not theoretical. Real. Because confidence comes from execution, not thought. Now there's another shift. You trust your mind again. Not because it's perfect. Because it's controlled. You know when to think. And when to act. There's no confusion.
No overlap.
No constant internal debate. That removes friction. And without friction, you move faster. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. epictetus. At this level, your mind becomes a tool, not a barrier. You use it when needed. You don't get trapped in it. That's the difference. Most people live in their thoughts. You don't. You operate through them. And once that becomes your baseline, you don't go back. Because going back would require rebuilding every pattern you just removed. And you don't do that. You protect this state. Not with effort. With awareness. The moment your mind tries to drift, you correct it. Immediately. Not after the loop builds. At the first signal. That keeps everything stable.
No build up. No escalation.
Just control. Over time, this becomes automatic. You don't think about not overthinking. You just don't do it. Because it no longer fits how you operate. You've replaced it with action. With clarity. With speed. And that's permanent. He who is brave is free. Seneca. Freedom is not having no thoughts. It's not being controlled by them. And now, you're not.
No loops. No delay. No hesitation.
Just execution. That's the final state. That's the level. If you made it this far, you already feel it. So don't stop here. Subscribe to the Unbroken Protocol. And go to the next video. You can return to stillness anytime. Because even with speed and execution, there's a level beyond that. A level where you can slow everything down. And access complete control on demand. See you in the next video.